Welcome to Book Summary Podcast, your gateway to personal transformation. Each episode delivers big ideas from the world's most impactful books on mindset, productivity, and success, all in just a few minutes. Ready to turn knowledge into action? Let's get started.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we cut through the noise and get you straight to the insights that truly matter. So we often find ourselves dreaming about that exhilarating moment we get rich. You know, the big win, the wildly successful venture, that financial breakthrough that promises to change everything.
Yeah, we really do. We envision the headlines, the celebrations, maybe the relief, right?
Exactly. But here's a question. What about the less glamorous, yet arguably far more crucial part of the equation? Staying wealthy. It's a skill, a mindset even, that even the smartest, most successful people sometimes completely miss.
It's a profound distinction, isn't it? The initial rush of acquisition, that thrill of the win, it often overshadows the quiet, the long-term discipline required for retention.
Yeah.
And that, as we'll uncover today, is a critical oversight for anyone building lasting financial independence. For many, wealth acquisition feels like the finish line, when in reality, it's merely the end of the first lap.
Absolutely. Today we're taking a deep dive into Chapter 5 of Morgan Housel's phenomenal book, The Psychology of Money, aptly titled Getting Wealthy versus Staying Wealthy.
Great chapter.
It really is. This chapter isn't just about financial mechanics. It offers a powerful and often counterintuitive look at the fundamental human behaviors that truly separate those who build enduring wealth from those who, see it slip through their fingers, sometimes spectacularly.
Our mission in this deep dive is really to unpack why simply acquiring money is, in fact, only half the battle. We'll explore why cultivating a mindset deeply rooted in survival, prudence, and yes, even a healthy dose of paranoia is absolutely essential.
Paranoia, yeah.
For anyone looking to build lasting financial independence, especially for you, our American listener, interested in personal finance and long-term wealth building. We're talking about the behaviors that allow you to not just make money, but to keep it, grow it, and ultimately benefit from it over a lifetime.
Okay, let's unpack this core idea then. If you glance at the headlines, scroll through social media, or even just observe the cultural zeitgeist, we're constantly bombarded with these incredibly captivating stories, aren't we?
Oh, totally. The tech genius who sold their company for billions, the savvy day trader who made a fortune overnight in some Reddit-fueled frenzy.
Right. Or the real estate mogul who turned a small initial investment into an empire that spans cities. These narratives are everywhere, and they powerfully fuel our aspirations to get rich quickly. They make it seem like that rapid, dramatic acquisition is the main event, the entire story.
And that's precisely the allure, right? The emotional pull of these stories. They're designed to be captivating, almost mythological.
Yeah.
They celebrate the meteoric rise, the classic rags to riches arc, and that triumphant singular moment of acquisition. But what's almost always missing from these narratives, or at least greatly downplayed, is the equally important but far less dramatic struggle of retaining that wealth.
Right. The boring part, maybe?
Kind of. It's the silent, often unseen battle that truly determines financial longevity. It's the difference between a flash in the pan and an enduring legacy. We focus so much on the sprint, we forget about the marathon.
And to really drive this point home, Housel gives us two truly stark, almost tragic contrasts from history: Jesse Livermore and Abraham Germansky. Their stories are just a masterclass in the pitfalls of not mastering the staying wealthy part.
Yeah, these are powerful examples.
Let's start with Jesse Livermore. Born in 1877, he was absolutely heralded as one of the greatest stock market traders of his entire era. I mean, by the time he was just 30 years old, his net worth had soared to the inflation-adjusted equivalent of a staggering $100 million.
Wow. Just think about that kind of wealth in the early 1900s. That's a stratospheric level of financial success achieved at a remarkably young age.
Unbelievable.
Indeed. And Livermore's legendary status was further cemented by what seemed like an almost prescient ability to navigate the markets. He famously predicted and profited immensely from the 1929 stock market crash.
The big one.
The big one. Accumulating an immense fortune at a time when countless others were losing absolutely everything. He went from being a millionaire to one of the richest men in the world, almost overnight. Okay. You would naturally think, given such extraordinary success and foresight, that he would be set for life, right? A financial titan forever.
You would certainly think so. But here's where Housel's insights become truly compelling and frankly heartbreaking. Despite this immense, almost prophetic success, Livermore eventually took his own life.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a one-off mistake. He had lost and regained fortunes multiple times throughout his career. What is it about that cycle, that repeated success and ruin that's so incredibly hard to break, even for brilliant, seemingly infallible individuals like Livermore? It feels like a pattern born from some deep psychological trap.
That's the core psychological trap, isn't it? Success, especially extreme success, can breed this sort of action bias and a feeling of invincibility. Livermore, having proven his genius repeatedly, likely felt he could always get it back, which leads to increasingly reckless bets, larger positions, and a willingness to leverage himself to the hilt. It speaks to the human ego, that intoxicating belief that past triumphs guarantee future ones.
So he had the skill to get wealthy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But not the temperament, the discipline to stay wealthy.
And this pattern, as you pointed out, is echoed in another tragic figure Housel mentions, Abraham Germansky. He was a real estate developer who amassed a fortune during the roaring 1920s, that era of, unprecedented economic exuberance and speculation.
Right. The boom times.
Exactly. And like so many others caught in the fever pitch of the time, he bet heavily on the surging stock market. The sources describe him as a genuine multimillionaire, a symbol of that era's prosperity.
But then came October 1929. As the market collapsed, Germansky was reported missing, presumably from the sheer stress and despair. There's this incredibly vivid, almost cinematic image Housel paints of him tearing ticker tape into bits on Wall Street in desperation.
Oh, wow.
A tangible representation of his world just falling apart. He did return eventually, but his path was irrevocably set for financial ruin. He was utterly wiped out, his fortune gone with the crash. He, too, was a master of getting wealthy.
But a novice at staying wealthy.
Precisely.
The profound shared lesson from both Livermore and Germansky is so critical, and it's one that resonates deeply. Both men were undeniably exceptional at getting wealthy. They possessed immense skill, impeccable timing in some cases, and an uncanny ability to identify opportunities others missed.
No question about their talent for acquisition.
However, they were equally and tragically bad at staying wealthy. This distinction, as the chapter argues, is absolutely crucial for everyone, regardless of their current financial standing or how much money they've accumulated. It's the difference between a fleeting moment of prosperity and an enduring legacy of financial security.
And that distinction, that fundamental understanding, brings us to what I believe is the absolute core of this entire chapter. Survival is the cornerstone of financial success.
Survival, it sounds so simple.
It does, but it's profound. The author posits that if he had to summarize money's success in a single word, that word would unequivocally be survival. This isn't about being the smartest or having the best insights or picking the next hot stock or crypto. It's simply about sticking around. It's about not getting wiped out.
What's so fascinating here, and quite counterintuitive, is how that concept of survival feels almost, humble, even pedestrian, in a world that constantly glorifies aggressive growth, innovation, and being the best.
Right. We're wired to chase expansion, to innovate, to achieve peak performance.
Right.
But the data paints a very different and pretty sobering picture about longevity.
So what does the data show?
Well, consider these statistics that Housel cites. A staggering 40% of companies successful enough to become publicly traded, reach that pinnacle of corporate achievement, eventually lose effectively all their value.
40%, that's huge.
It's massive. Think about that for a moment, nearly half. These aren't just small startups. These are established entities that made it to the public markets.
Wow.
And if you look at the Forbes 400 list of richest Americans, you see an average of 20% turnover per decade, excluding transfers due to death.
So 1 in 5 are off the list 10 years later.
Exactly. That means 1 in 5 of the wealthiest individuals in the country are off that list 10 years later. This highlights the inherent fragility of wealth, even at the highest echelons, and underscores that getting to the top is one thing, but staying there is a whole other challenge entirely.
That's a truly sobering statistic. 40% of successful public companies losing all their value, and a fifth of the Forbes 400 dropping off in a decade. It's not just a few bad apples or isolated failures. It's a significant systemic portion that simply doesn't survive.
Exactly right. It really hammers home the idea that reaching the top is only half the battle.
So it's not just about getting there, it's about endurance.
Endurance, resilience, survival. This is precisely why the wisdom of venture capital firm Sequoia Capital is so compelling and timeless. Michael Moritz, the billionaire head of this highly successful firm, which has not just survived but prospered for 4 decades, was once asked about their secret.
Okay, what did he say? I bet it was something complex.
You'd think. But his surprising answer wasn't about superior deal flow or market timing or picking the right technologies. It was incredibly simple, yet profound. I think we've always been afraid of going out of business.
Wow. Afraid of going out of business. Even Sequoia.
Even Sequoia. He embraced the mantra, only the paranoid survive, emphasizing that success isn't about resting on your laurels or assuming past triumphs guarantee future good fortune.
Only the paranoid survive. I absolutely love that. It really emphasizes that success isn't about resting on your laurels or assuming past triumphs guarantee future good fortune. It's about a constant, almost uncomfortable vigilance. It's not about being timid, but about being deeply aware of potential pitfalls.
It powerfully illustrates that longevity, the ability to avoid being wiped out, to simply remain in the game, makes the biggest difference over the long run. This critical insight is often overlooked when the focus is purely on growth or innovation at all costs.
So that fear isn't paralyzing, it's motivating.
Exactly. Moritz's perspective highlights that a deep-seated, healthy fear of ruin can be a much more powerful motivator for sustainable success than an unbridled chase for the highest returns. It's the ultimate risk management strategy.
So why is this idea of simply sticking around so profoundly important when it comes to managing our money? Housel lays out 2 indispensable reasons that really hit home for me, and I think for you, our listeners, striving for long-term financial security.
Okay.
The first reason is straightforward but often ignored. Very few financial gains are so extraordinary that they justify risking everything. Pursuing more at all costs can, and often does, lead to ruin, negating all your previous successes no matter how impressive they were. The objective, simply put, is to secure what you have. It's the ultimate don't throw the baby out with the bathwater scenario.
It's a crucial point because our psychological wiring often pushes us towards that more. We see other successes, we feel the pressure to keep up, and we take on incremental risks that individually might seem small, but cumulatively expose us to catastrophic loss. Housel emphasizes that the downside of ruin always outweighs the upside of even significant gains. You only have to be wrong once in a way that truly wipes you out.
And the second reason connects directly to something we explored in our deep dive into Chapter 4, the counterintuitive, almost magical power of compounding.
Ah, yes, compounding, the 8th wonder.
Right. Compounding, as we discussed then, is an incredibly powerful force. But its magic only works with time. Think of planting oak trees. A single year yields little visible progress. 10 years can make a meaningful difference, creating a young, sturdy tree. But 50 years of consistent, uninterrupted growth creates something truly extraordinary, a majestic, deeply rooted forest.
And to benefit from that long-term exponential growth, you must survive. You have to make it through all the unpredictable ups and downs of the recessions, market corrections, personal setbacks, health crises, job losses, global events that inevitably occur over decades.
You have to stay standing.
You have to stay standing. Survival, then, isn't just about avoiding losses. It's the absolute gateway to unlocking the full potential of compounding. If you're forced out of the game, even temporarily, that exponential growth curve gets broken, and it can be incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to catch back up. It truly is the bedrock.
So you can have all the clever insights in the world.
But if you don't survive to see your investments mature, that genius is wasted.
And that brings us perfectly to some real-world examples, masters of this survival mindset. And unfortunately, they're foils. When we talk about investing success and longevity, one name always comes up: Warren Buffett.
Of course.
But instead of focusing solely on his legendary investment genius, which, let's be honest, is truly extraordinary, the chapter highlights what Buffett didn't do.
This is such a key insight.
These are the often overlooked foundations of his longevity and compounding success, and it's so illuminating because they speak to temperament more than pure intellect.
It absolutely shifts the perspective from seeking a secret formula to understanding the critical guardrails, the preventative measures. Buffett, first and foremost, didn't get carried away with excessive debt or leverage, which, as we'll see with others, is a major pitfall.
That's a big one.
Huge. He didn't panic and sell during the 14 recessions. He has lived through a testament to almost superhuman emotional control and long-term vision.
14 recessions.
14. He meticulously maintained his impeccable business reputation, understanding it's an invaluable, intangible asset that pays dividends in trust and opportunities. Crucially, He didn't rigidly attach himself to one single strategy, worldview, or fleeting trend, allowing for immense adaptability across changing markets and economic conditions.
And he also structured Berkshire Hathaway in a unique way, didn't he? Ensuring that investors couldn't easily withdraw capital, especially during tough times.
Exactly. This meant he didn't have to rely on others' fickle money or short-term thinking when markets were panicking, which is a key survival mechanism and a huge advantage during periods of stress.
Wow.
And perhaps most importantly, he didn't burn himself out, quit, or retire prematurely. His success is overwhelmingly attributed to his sheer survival and longevity investing consistently from age 10 to at least age 89. From age 10. That incredibly extended time frame is what allowed compounding to work its wonders on an unimaginable scale.
Oh.
His ability to simply stay in the game for nearly 8 decades, weathering every storm, far outweighs any single brilliant investment decision he made. It's the cumulative effect of disciplined endurance.
That's incredible. 80 years in the market is almost unheard of. But to really put that into perspective and underscore the importance of Buffett's din-dos, we have the cautionary tale of Rick Guerin.
Guerin, yeah.
You've probably heard of the legendary investing duo Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. But Housel reveals that about 40 years ago, there was actually a third, equally brilliant member of that informal investing group, Rick Guerin.
Right. And Buffett's observation about Guerin is incredibly powerful and revealing. He once said, "Charlie and I always knew that we would become incredibly wealthy. We were not in a hurry to get wealthy. We knew it would happen." Rick was just as smart as us, but he was in a hurry.
He was in a hurry. That says so much.
It really does. This impatience, this haste, this desire for speed is precisely what led to his undoing, despite his intelligence.
And the consequence was brutal, wasn't it? It came during a particularly challenging period.
Yeah, the devastating 1973-1974 market downturn, where stocks plummeted almost 70%. Guerin had used significant leverage, essentially, borrowed money for his investments, often through margin loans.
Oh, okay, so he was playing with fire.
Big time. When the market collapsed, he faced what are called, margin calls those terrifying demands from his broker to immediately inject more cash into his account or be forced to sell off his securities at fire sale prices, regardless of his long-term conviction.
Oh, the worst possible time to sell.
The absolute worst. He had no choice. He was forced to sell his Berkshire Hathaway stock, a significant portion of his wealth, to Warren for under $40 a share.
Under $40. Knowing what Berkshire's worth now, ouch.
Ouch is an understatement. This was a decision he undoubtedly regretted immensely, as Berkshire's value soared into the hundreds of thousands of dollars per share in subsequent decades. Guerin's intelligence and initial skill at getting wealthy were completely undermined by his desire for speed and his aggressive use of leverage.
He just couldn't survive the downturn.
Exactly. He lost the ability to participate in the long-term compounding that made Buffett and Munger so incredibly successful, simply because he didn't survive the downturn financially intact.
So even though they were all exceptionally smart, Buffett and Munger possessed that critical, almost invisible skill of staying wealthy. It wasn't just about their genius. It was about their discipline, their patience, their aversion to risks that could lead to ruin.
That's it. Their survival mentality allowed their genius to compound, while Guerin's urgency cut his genius short.
And Nassim Taleb, you mentioned him.
Right, Nassim Taleb perfectly encapsulates this difference with his powerful insight. Having an edge and surviving are two different things. The first requires the second. You need to avoid ruin at all costs.
The first requires the second.
Yeah. This highlights that even with superior insight, even with a genuine advantage in the market, without the ability to survive the inevitable storms, your edge is ultimately meaningless. Survival is the prerequisite for any other financial strategy to work.
This brings us directly to 3 practical pillars of a survival mindset that you, our listener, can apply to your own financial journey no matter where you are starting from.
Okay, let's break them down.
Pillar number 1, prioritize being financially unbreakable over chasing peak returns. Now, during booming bull markets, holding cash can feel like a conservative, almost regrettable choice, can it?
Oh yeah, definitely. When stocks are soaring, maybe earning 10% or 15% a year, and your cash is sitting there earning a modest 1% or 2%, that growing gap can really gnaw at you. You feel like you're missing out.
Totally. The classic FOMO, fear of missing out.
That feeling of missing out, or FOMO, is an incredibly powerful psychological force in finance. It's precisely what leads many people to make rash decisions, to abandon their long-term plans, or to take on undue risk by chasing the hottest investments.
But Housel argues that cash has this hidden value.
Exactly. That seemingly low-yielding cash acts as your ultimate safeguard. If it prevents you from being forced to sell your stock during a bear market precisely when prices are low, panic is high, and the rational investor should be buying, not selling, its actual return is not just that 1% or 2% a year. It could be, as Housel suggests, many multiples of that.
That's a powerful reframing. So the true return of that cash isn't just the paltry interest rate, but the invaluable opportunity cost avoided at the cost of being forced out of the market at the worst possible time.
Bingo. Preventing one desperate, ill-timed sale can be far more beneficial to your lifetime returns than picking dozens of big winners.
But for many listeners, seeing cash sit there during a roaring bull market feels like a tangible loss. How do we emotionally combat that FOMO and embrace the unseen value of that safety net?
That's the constant battle, isn't it? And it ties into the compounding truth. The real goal isn't necessarily the highest possible return in any single year, but rather earning good returns consistently and uninterrupted for the longest possible time, especially through periods of chaos.
Consistency over intensity.
Exactly. That cash allows you to weather those chaotic periods without having to liquidate your productive assets at a loss. It also provides the capital to buy more assets when they are cheap. A counter-cyclical move that is incredibly difficult psychologically, but hugely rewarding.
So the return on cash in a downturn isn't measured in interest.
No, it's measured in the financial and emotional capital it preserves and the opportunities it enables. This is the foundation of an unbreakable financial life. Consistency and endurance always beat intensity and fragility.
That's a profound distinction to internalize. All right, let's dive into pillar number 2, which truly challenges our human tendency to believe everything will go exactly as we've written it down. House puts it bluntly, plan for your plan not going according to plan.
Or as the old saying goes, you plan, God laughs.
Right. Very few plans, financial or otherwise, survive their first encounter with reality completely intact.
And we have so much recent history to guide us, don't we? Think about just the last 20 years. The 9/11 attacks, a massive housing boom followed by an epic bust, a global financial crisis that brought the world economy to its knees.
A record-breaking bull market that seemed endless.
And then, suddenly, a global pandemic that shut down economies worldwide.
Right.
No one, not a single expert or economic model, foresaw the exact timing or impact of these events, yet they dramatically impacted financial lives, career trajectories, retirement plans for millions.
So planning needs humility.
Exactly. A truly valuable financial plan, therefore, acknowledges this future filled with unknowns and builds an ample room for error, often referred to as a margin of safety.
And this isn't just about being conservative, is it? It's far more strategic. It's about fundamentally increasing your odds of survival and success at a given level of risk. For example, if your retirement plan can still be okay, even if the market returns, say, 4% annually instead of an optimistic 8% over 30 years, that's a robust plan. It has a built-in buffer against disappointment.
Exactly. And I love Benjamin Graham's wisdom on this. He, the father of value investing, said the purpose of a margin of safety is to render the forecast unnecessary.
Wow, render the forecast unnecessary.
Yeah, it protects you precisely when your predictions inevitably go wrong, which they will. It's like designing a bridge to hold far more weight than it's ever expected to carry. You don't know what unexpected load will come, but you're prepared for something.
That's almost Zen-like, isn't it? It's like saying, I don't need a crystal ball if I just wear a really good helmet.
Kind of.
But beyond the numbers on a spreadsheet, there's a crucial psychological element here too. Can you mentally survive a 30% decline in your assets? Spreadsheets are great for crunching numbers, but they don't account for the emotional toll, the sleepless nights, the anxiety that can lead to rash decisions.
Absolutely critical point. That gap between what's technically endurable on paper and what's emotionally possible in reality is a crucial form of room for error. Can you actually stick to the plan when your gut is screaming at you to sell?
Yeah.
This connects to what Housel calls the Russian roulette syndrome. It means never take a risk where the absolute worst outcome is total ruin, no matter how favorable the odds seem statistically.
Even if it's like a 1 in 100 chance of ruin.
Even then.
Yeah.
Even if the probabilities are strongly in your favor, say a 5 in 6 chance of winning one wrong spin of the chamber and everything is lost, that's the mindset to guard against. Leverage or debt is often the devil here, turning routine, manageable risks into potentially ruinous ones that erase years of progress in an instant.
That's a chilling analogy and so true. It's not just about the numbers, it's about your peace of mind and your ability to stick with the plan when things inevitably get tough. And what about guarding against the truly unimaginable, those unknown unknowns, as Donald Rumsfeld famously put it?
Right, the things you can't even conceive of. You can't possibly plan for every specific unknown unknown. Housel shares a fascinating anecdote from WWII.
Yeah.
German tanks, technologically superior, were sometimes defeated by mundane field mice that chewed through their electrical insulation, leaving them stranded.
Field mice took out tanks. Seriously.
Seriously, no tank designer would have envisioned that specific threat. The solution, then, is not to try and predict every mouse, but to avoid single points of failure in your finances.
Okay, so what does that mean for the average person, for you listening?
For you, our listener, this means not relying solely on a paycheck without any emergency savings, or having all your assets tied up in one illiquid investment, like maybe just your house. It means having some diversification, some cushion. Save for the field mice, the unpredictable surprises of life that you can't possibly forecast, but which a little financial buffer can often absorb. It's about resilience, not clairvoyance.
That's a powerful image. The field mice of personal finance. Gotta watch out for those. And finally, pillar number 3. Cultivate what Housel calls a barbelled personality. Think of a barbell with 2 heavy ends. It's about holding 2 seemingly contradictory traits strongly and simultaneously.
Okay, what are the 2 ends?
Being genuinely optimistic about the future, but equally strategically paranoid about anything that could prevent you from reaching that future.
The optimist and the paranoid living together. This barbelled approach allows for incredible strength and adaptability. Sensible optimism isn't blind hope or wishful thinking. It's the belief that over time, the odds are fundamentally in your favor for a good outcome for progress.
Even knowing it's going to be bumpy.
Exactly. Even knowing that the journey will be filled with misery and landmines, as Housel puts it. It's a deep-seated belief in human ingenuity, problem-solving, and the long-term trend of innovation and economic growth. You look at history and see that despite all the setbacks, the overall trend has been upward.
But then you perfectly balance that with what Housel terms strategic paranoia. It's not about being a doomsayer, but a pragmatist.
Exactly. Strategic paranoia means maintaining a keen, almost hyper-aware vigilance of all the things that could go wrong and derail your long-term success. It's that constant awareness that Michael Moritz of Sequoia Capital talked about, only the paranoid survive.
So you believe things will generally work out, but you're constantly scanning for threats.
Precisely. Think about the U.S. economy. It has grown phenomenally over 170 years, despite numerous wars, recessions, assassinations, pandemics, and countless company failures. Growth isn't linear. It's not a smooth upward curve. It often happens through destruction, adaptation, and reinvention. So the optimism is for the long-term outcome, and the paranoia is for surviving the short-term, unavoidable chaos.
So it's not about avoiding destruction entirely, which is impossible, but understanding that it's an inherent part of the process and being ready to navigate it, to adapt, to pivot, to emerge stronger. It's a pragmatic, clear-eyed view of reality.
Absolutely. But here's the trap, and it's one that directly relates back to Jesse Livermore, what he called the swelled head.
Ah, the invincibility feeling again.
Exactly. His mistake of feeling invincible after periods of immense success highlights the danger of letting good times erode your paranoia. When everything is going right, it's easy to forget about the field mice, about the potential for ruin.
Yeah, you start thinking you cracked the code.
You do. As Livermore himself put it after one of his incredible comebacks, it's an expensive disease. And he also said, nothing is as good or as bad as it seems. You need to maintain that dual perspective, that barbelled personality, because success can make you complacent. And complacency, ironically, is often the most direct path to ruin.
Wow. What a deep dive into getting wealthy versus staying wealthy. Today, we've explored the critical difference between acquiring money and, far more importantly, keeping it and growing it. It's a distinction rooted not just in financial acumen, but in deep psychological principles.
The often overlooked power of survival.
The profound humility to embrace room for error.
And the truly dynamic, dual mindset of optimism for the future, balanced with strategic paranoia about what will prevent you from getting there.
For your financial journey, listening now, these aren't just abstract ideas. They're actionable behaviors and mindsets that can define your long-term success and, perhaps most importantly, your peace of mind.
And, as Sherlock Holmes once famously said, The world is full of obvious things which nobody by any chance ever observes.
I like that.
The lessons we've discussed today about survival, prudence, preparedness, they might seem obvious in retrospect, right? Common sense even. But how often do we truly observe and act on them consistently in our own financial lives?
That's the real question.
What are the obvious financial behaviors you might be overlooking right now in your own pursuit of the extraordinary, simply because they aren't as flashy or exciting as chasing the next big win? It's a question worth pondering.
A truly great question to ponder. Next time on The Deep Dive, we'll continue our exploration of these powerful psychological forces by looking at another fascinating aspect of wealth creation and life that often defies intuition. We'll examine how a few extraordinary outcomes can account for the majority of results and what that means for your decisions.
The power of outliers.
Exactly. As we take a deep dive into Chapter 6, Tails, You Win, You Won't Want to Miss It.
Thanks for tuning in to the Book Summary Podcast. If you found value in today's episode, hit that like button, subscribe for more summaries, and share it with someone who's ready to grow. Want deeper insights, exclusive book notes, and reading tips? Join our free newsletter. The link's in the description. And don't forget, if you'd like to read the full book, our affiliate link is right below. It helps support the channel and keeps the summaries coming. Until next time, keep reading, keep growing.